Welcome to Film Freaks. This is Justin Llewellyn
and Eddie Williams.
And here we're now talking about a retrospective of one of the most acclaimed, one of the most profile-like slasher films in the 1980s.
That pretty much made New Line Cinema rich, and it made Wes Craven mainstream.
Yeah, it's one of those. It was one of the most top. It was one of the slasher films that actually was the bench point of not only reviving not only reviving a studio from going bankrupt, but also into making one of the most iconic slasher films to be put on the map with as far as film, as far as mainstream.
Now, before we talk about the Nightmare on Elm Street, before we start the retrospective of Nightmare on Elm Street, let's get into a little bit backstory with this film about the studio, which almost went bankrupt. And this is one of the coolest stories I've ever heard, because this was actually a film that was being loved by who wanted to make this film. I mean, you're talking about this studio was pretty much bankrupt.
Yeah,
you had Robert Englund. He was offering to do people were actually putting in their home possessions to get the money to make this film.
Yeah,
Robert Englund put his car. I think I read somewhere where Robert Englund put his car up to pawn.
Yeah, he did.
That's what they were doing. Dedicated. You never see where a cast is so dedicated to make sure that this film's going to be big and know what they have. That when they didn't have no money, they were all pitching in and putting in their own money.
Yeah,
Robert Englund and Nancy Thompson.
Heather Langenkamp.
Yeah, Langenkamp. She pretty much put money in. That's what I'm trying to say is
all this was also revealed in the documentary that came out called Never Sleep Again, the documentary about the films, which was a good story because basically before a long time, New Line Cinema, the company, went through a lot of movies that weren't doing much success, and the movie was on the verge of basically bankrupt. So they gave the job to Wes Craven, who was only known for The Last House on the Left,
which really brutal, but yet the people still didn't think he was up to par as going to be a good film director. So. Yeah.
So now him coming off that movie, he basically got in touch with New Line Cinema on making a film that he had based on a dream, because what he remembers was...
Well, we also forgot to mention the Hills Have Eyes.
Well, Hills Have Eyes, yeah. Hills Have Eyes. And we also had Hills Have Eyes.
That one was kind of starting, but still... He has not made a really big iconic until he got to Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, basically this was the film where, as the story, we'll go into a little more backstory. Basically, the whole backstory, the whole idea was that Wes Craven remembers when he was young, he remembers seeing a guy who was very creepy, and he wore a trench coat and everything, and he had dreams of a man who was trying to kill him in his dreams.
Yeah.
And that's where the idea came from.
It's an idea that came out of real life,
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about that. It's somebody who experienced something so scary, and he's like, you know what, I got an idea.
Yeah.
The only other time I ever heard a director actually do that was actually the Saw series. Lee
Wennell?
Lee and
James Wan.
James Wan actually. That's how they came out with the Saw series, is because they were like, they just thought about it in a stormy night, and then they just started piecing up together. It was kind of like a bunch of dreams they had.
Oh, I never knew that.
I seen that in a documentary of
That's
all
cool.
the Saws. Yeah.
Well, so now we have the first. Now we have the first Nightmare on Elm Street that came out in 1984. Now this was the film that put New Line Cinema on the map and became a mainstream company.
Yes.
A mainstream independent company. So the whole... Basically,
now, before we get into this, talk about Nightmare on Elm Street 84, I'm going to tell you guys this right now. Right now, I'm not scared. I don't get scared of any film, and that's solely to blame on this film. I watched this movie at a young age.
I did too.
I was 4 or 5 years old, and I happened to come across it. I don't know why. I still remember it. But anyways, I was a 5-year-old, and there's only 2 films I've ever seen as a kid. And I blame these 2 films the reason why no matter what you do today, I will never be scared again. Because these 2 films I'm about to mention, scared the living fucking daylights out of me. It was Exorcist and Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984.
Yeah, I remember watching Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one when I was young, but I didn't grow into it until I watched the later sequels.
Yes,
but
like I said, I'm not scared of monster movies. I don't get scared anymore. But this, before we start talking, Nightmare on Elm Street 1984 is probably the most scariest movie I've ever seen.
It is. Pretty much, it was one of those films that when it first came out, everyone, because we came off the success of Friday the 13th and Halloween, where that was capitalized in the slasher films. Yeah. Well, this one made it to where you can still take a slasher film, but also mix in some fantasy elements, which made it even more creepier. Mm-hmm. Because it wasn't, I mean, it's still a slasher film, but you can see that it's actually still, it's trying to play with both genres, both the supernatural horror and also the slasher horror in one movie.
Yep.
So the story goes, the first film, released in 1984, follows that you have a group of kids that are falling asleep and they encounter that there's this entity who is named Freddy Krueger that's trying to haunt them in their dreams. Now, as the story, what they don't realize is that in the dream, if you die, you get killed in real life.
Get killed in real life, and basically this goes by. They later find out that it's because their parents killed this guy.
Yeah,
and he was. Well, here's the thing with this one. I believe this one was going slowly on because he raped them or killed them.
No, he was just a child murderer.
Yeah, it was a child murderer in this one. They changed it later on. We'll tell you about that later. But yeah. This one was the child murder one, and he was killing kids. He got acquitted by, I guess, tampering with evidence and some. Because not enough proof.
There wasn't a warrant.
There wasn't. There was a wrongfully signed warrant. The cops acted too early. It kind of dismissed the whole case, even though they had some odd evidence that they could charge him for. It's just it's called law. So they had to let him go, and the parents weren't happy, so they took shit in their own hands. So
and pretty much what follows is the characters that are in the film, they're trying to understand, they're trying to see what's happening as far as, because what this all sets up is Tina, who we followed for about the first quarter of the film, you're thinking she's the main lead because the way,
which is also pretty cool because it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because in the midway point she gets killed halfway, you know, and pretty much you have the other characters, Nancy, trying to investigate what's happening, and you can really feel that these kids are really scared. You know, you get the feeling that these kids, but basically no matter what happens, they're fucked if they go in their dreams.
Yeah. And what was really cool, another cool trivia note, this is Johnny Depp's first movie.
Yeah, and it was, because...
this is his film debut.
And I saw in the documentary of Never Sleep Again, where... it was actually Wes Craven's son who actually brought the attention to Wes Craven to get Johnny Depp in the movie. Yep. He's like, Daddy, we should get him. He's like, who, Johnny Depp? It's like, yeah, we should get him. You know? But anyway, this film, I can tell you right now, this is one of the most scariest films I have ever seen.
I want to say, this score makes it fucking 100 times. This is probably, I'm going to tell you, to date, this is probably the scariest score.
It is.
Like, this movie fucking sends fucking chills up my fucking back.
Oh, yeah.
Especially... and Freddy, I love Freddy in this one. Like, he is fucking scary, dude. He is fucking brutal.
And plus, unlike... well, we'll get to the sequels later. But his...
God.
Yeah.
Like, and he does a long arm thing. Dude, this shit fucking scared the fucking daylights out of me.
Yeah, especially the fact that... and this is the only one, besides probably a couple of the later movies, where he actually has a deep voice. Where you can tell he's like a demon.
Like, he's a demon, and he feels burned. And we'll talk about later in the franchise how they started really fucking him up and making him kind of clearer and more... I didn't like that. But... God, dude, and he still looked like freshly burned.
Yeah.
And he still had smoke kind of coming off of him.
Where it's all like dripping off and shit.
The films, you could kind of, later on in the franchise, you kind of tell that, alright, you could tell it's kind of getting really makeup-y looking.
Yeah.
But in the first one and maybe two, I can defend, this is where he's still dripping blood from his fucking, like, being burned. And... dude, Robert Englund nailed this. Oh my god.
Robert Englund is, to me, is the perfect cast. Because this was, well, keep in mind, Robert Englund, before he was Freddy, he came off of a TV series called V, where he was kind of playing a comic relief. So, that to me is perfect casting, how you go from a guy who's never done a horror movie before, and he becomes an iconic figure where you can really see all the menacing feel that this guy has, you know? Yeah. Every scene he's in is just fucking gold.
Dude, Freddy just, Oh my god, it gets scarier and brutal.
Yeah, the scariest...
In fact, here's another trivia note, and I actually seen this, I don't know if you caught this. They actually had to delete a lot of shit out.
Well, yeah.
Because the movie was so scary that people were fucking leaving the theaters and it said, this is too fucking hard, man.
Well, I know the most cuts I seen was the part where Tina gets killed in the very
there's another cut. And I actually seen this. This is actually pretty fucking brutal. Johnny Depp's famous scene where he gets slashed and all that
and
fucking
all the blood comes out. Yeah.
Oh my god, this shit is fucking gory just coming out of the bed. There's a trivia thing, and I actually seen it, and they have it on YouTube. There's a video, like, after the blood comes, where the mother is screaming at all the blood coming out. Johnny Depp starts raising from the bed, and he's so slashed up, and then you have that score playing. Doom,
oh, I didn't know that scene.
Doom, doom, and then he starts kind of going towards his mom, and he's all slashed the fuck up.
Oh,
they had
damn.
to take it out because it was too, like, brutal. Like, some of the people who actually had early screenings fucking had to leave. It was too hard. It was too scary.
Damn, I gotta find that scene now.
I'll show you that when we're done with this.
Yeah.
It was pretty fucking scary, dude. I'm like, wow. You know, I can understand maybe having to pull out, but I'm the kind of guy that really, there should be no limitations, really.
Yeah, I mean...
in taking shit out. Because that scene... Well, I seen, oh man, that would have brought more intense brutality to that fucking scene.
Yeah, this whole movie alone is brutal as hell. Like, not only do you have the Johnny Depp death, but you also have the death of the other guy where he's in the prison, because pretty much they as the story goes, they're led to believe that Rod, played by Nick Corey, is the cops think that he killed Tina. So there's a scene that happens later in the film where he's in a prison, in a jail cell, and he gets hung, and that the way that it kind of transitions where the rope is kind of on his neck and stuff, I thought that was pretty creepy.
Yeah, dude, the Freddy's laugh, he's like,
yeah,
dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, there's no film that still brings to me with, even though I said I'm not scared, but man, it still brings fucking chills to my back, because I watched it recently again, because I can't get enough of it, because it's so damn good.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, man, I started really fucking, it brings chills on my...
So it does with me too. Like, the creepiest part for me is the part where, like you said, the part where he's after Tina, and he cuts his fingers off.
And he fucks with him. This one, he fucking doesn't even just kill him. He fucks with him in, like, really fucked up ways.
Yeah, man. Especially... Well,
psychologically, this movie's damaging.
And he taunts also the part where Nancy's in the school and she wakes... Mm-hmm. What's also clever about the movie, too, is that you can't tell if the character's asleep or actually awake or not. Like the scene where Nancy's in class and she dreams that she's seeing Tina in a body bag. And that scene alone is fucking...
The school! And then you start... Yeah. That's what scares me, is then you start... later on in the film, you realize that you're not even safe in the daytime. You're because you can't stay awake. You're doing what you can. You start doing... micro naps, and then she's seeing it in school, and the whole like fucking Freddy is psychologically attacking these kids.
Yeah,
he's not trying to kill you at first. He's trying to psychologically destroy you.
That's what I'm saying. You know, in that scene alone where it shows Tina in a body bag and she's got the snakes coming out, that scene alone still, to this day, still creeps the fuck out of me, especially when it shows her body getting dragged by Freddy.
Yeah, and then the famous cop, he played
John Saxon.
John Saxon, you remember him from a lot of ninja films,
right? Enter the Dragon, and he was also the cop in Black Christmas in the original.
Yep, in the original. So,
which is funny because in that film he's also playing a cop.
He's either a cop or a freaking ninja.
Well, it's funny because 10 years before Nightmare on Elm Street in Black Christmas, he's also playing a cop looking for a killer.
Yeah.
So it's like he played the same character in both movies, which is cool.
Which is pretty cool, but the score, the brutality, and then not even giving a good closure where it gives you a closure where everybody loses.
Yeah.
And then he just does not stop. Oh my god, the car scene, the part where he kills the mother and the father gets to see like what he's really fucking do. That shit is fucking...
Yeah.
And then that part where he comes out of the bed, and they did really good in the original because like you see the blood just being stuck in the bed.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna rip you in two. Like, dude, if they would have kept Freddy like this throughout the franchise, oh my god, there ain't no doubt that these movies could have done a lot.
Though there is one thing I do kind of laugh at, is the part where Nancy puts up all the booby traps, and it has that part where she's got that mallet, and it hits Freddy
on the thing.
And it hits him in the face. Yeah. I thought that was kind of funny.
But that part where like he's like he knows she's trapped in the house, and then Freddy's like he has Tina's face over his face.
Yeah.
And you see like, and then he uses her voice, and he's like,
it's like, Nancy, help
me, save me from Freddy.
Yeah.
Dude, that fucking shit, man.
Yeah, he's fucking brutal in this one. But also, what I was going to get your opinion on this, because originally, when we get to the ending, it shows that, okay, Nancy defeats Freddy, and after pulling him out of the real world, and he burns him. So, we also get the ending where Nancy goes to see her friends, and you're led to believe that this is either a dream. Or if it's real life. Because from what I've been hearing, Wes Craven shot 3 endings for the film, where one, it was just going to be a happy ending where she reunites with her friends, and you don't see the Freddy car. The second ending was the car comes alive, and it's Freddy driving. And then the third ending was, I believe it was just the original ending, the ending that's in the movie.
Yeah.
So
I did love the ending. They did perfectly.
Well, it gives you kind of an ambiguous note, because you're like, okay.
Because you know when that car tipped over, it turns into a Freddy car. It's the color of his sweater. I'm like,
I like it.
And then, like, you get that scare. And I'm telling you right now, this is probably out of all the franchises, this is probably the best where the kids are doing the 1, 2, and then the mother just gets sucked, like, pulled right in.
Yeah.
Like,
though, I did see the bloopers they had for it, and it did look like an obvious dummy.
But they kind of improved where they actually went back, and they kind of like did it so quick so you can't really tell. But they did at first.
Yeah.
But they kind of like, okay, let's go and fix that a little bit. But man, I'm gonna tell you right now, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. It's probably one of the scariest fucking movies.
This is a 10 out of 10 for me too. Definitely a great classic, great starting point for Robert Englund,
and it's a credit the iconic Freddy Krueger and Robert Englund.
It's one of my favorite Wes Craven films.
Yes, it is on mine.
And then before we get to the next one, I was going to say a little backstory. Okay, so Wes Craven didn't really want to do a franchise because he felt like the story was complete with the first film. So with the next movie they were going to do, they didn't really think the movie... Because, first of all, you got to understand, nobody in the studio believed this was going to be a success. They thought this was going to bomb. The movie grossed so much for New Line Cinema that it pretty much made New Line Cinema an A+,
a high-class production.
Yeah, a high-class production while still doing independent movies. You know? And so now we get to Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge, which Wes Craven didn't direct, but because he didn't want to have anything to do with the franchise.
Yep.
But now we get another character that comes in named Jesse, played by Mark... I forgot his last name. Damn it, I just seen his name the other day too, Mark something. Yep. But anyway, the story is basically goes, you have a kid going to...
staying in Nancy's old home.
Staying in Nancy, which is cool, because they stay in the same house that Nancy was in from the first movie.
Yeah.
And he's having dreams of Freddy. And in the beginning, basically what happens is, what's different about this one from the first one is that this one, you see Freddy taking possession of this kid throughout the movie.
Which is a good concept.
Yeah.
I actually got into the concept. I did like the concept.
Just basically, when the second film came out, it wasn't too well reviewed because people thought that it did kind of ignore the rules from the first film. And also, they didn't like the fact that pretty much throughout the whole film, they're led to believe that the main character, Jesse, is gay.
They do. This movie's got a lot of controversy over...
Overtones.
It was doing a gay-themed movie. There's a lot of gayness in the film.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm not got nothing against gays or anything. I'm just saying, like, I could see some of the controversies because at the time, it was not a lot of people didn't...
Yeah.
We're in 2016 now, so we've moved on from that. But... At the time, it didn't work well, but it also didn't fit well with the movie because people didn't think it needed to be part of that theme, and it felt like the director was going for a theme of that, which kind of threw like, what the hell are you doing, man?
Yeah, it did have a lot of overtones that were present, but I feel like the movie, for what it is, I don't think it was bad. I think it's actually...
He starts seeing Freddy, and then Freddy's trying to take possession of him because Freddy lost pretty much a lot of his powers. As what he did in the first one, he needs him to remember again and get him his powers, so he thinks taking human possession and pretty much killing these kids will get him fear that Freddy is back again. And basically, with this film, I do love, and they do, again, I praise this, that bring him back his the same brutality feel to him, where he's still melted looking and still on fire, still look on first one, and he's still fucking creepy. He's got that deep, like he's got that voice.
Yeah, and plus, plus also for the majority of the movie that I do love the psychological approach they take, where he's trying to possess Jesse into doing the murders. Because yes, I realize it takes away from the rules from the first film,
but it's something. It's still doable.
I still liked it because you still get into mind that it's a very psychological thriller where he's basically no, you're spreading my fear to the children. So I do love the approach they did with it.
Yeah, I do too. And he was brutal. The gore was beautiful. Like, getting slashed. He was using a lot more of his glove than he did in part one.
Yeah.
He did more glove slashing with this one. I do like this one.
I also wanted to point out that the film does have some funny characters too, like the Grady dude, where he's
do some more kind of like chucks and giggles, but they don't overdo it where you feel like you're watching a comedy.
Yeah.
But it brings some kind of chuckles to this film versus the first one, which was straight horror.
Yeah. No, but also one of my favorite scenes in the film, the highlight for me, is the part where Freddy gets loose out of Jesse's body, and then he goes into that pool scene, where he's slicing people and everything, that was fucking great.
You got that one kid right here and pulled his intestines
Yeah,
out.
and that part where...
and he's like, help yourself, fucker.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that shit is brutal. Like, I love Freddy in that time. That is where Freddy was fucking scary.
Yeah.
So, anyways, overall, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a 7 out of 10 for me, too.
I did have some mixed problems with the whole... I mean, I'm not against gays, but, like, it was kind of toned down a little bit on some of the shit.
Yeah, I thought that they could have done more.
And I thought they could have done a hell lot more. I thought the movie was really, like, fast.
Yeah, it did.
Was over.
Well, the ending was kind of weird because, unlike other films, this one did, I do appreciate they brought the tradition where the main hero, you think he's going to actually die, but he actually lives. Where
she breaks him, like, it kind of reminded me of Ghostbusters where they're in those ashes. You remember where Gordon Weaver and Ghostbusters were in that little big thing, they had to break them apart?
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say,
what it reminded me
it was actually kind of remind me of The Fly too, where he's in this form and then he gets open, like she cuts him open and everything, and he's able to be back in his human form.
Yeah.
And also that ending was kind of cool how he was able to that when Freddy pops out and he's like they're on the bus and they're going down the road and he kills all of them. He slices his hand out of that girl's chest. Remember?
Yeah, that at the end we're like, okay, we're getting another one. Give us another, kind of like the same ending, like another creepy ending that we're going to get another one, which is cool. I did like that where it's like, okay, Freddy's like pretty much immortal. You can't stop this fucking dude.
Yeah.
And I do love this.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's a 7 out of 10. And I really, it's, like I said, it's got mixed reviews. But now we get to Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3.
The Dream Warriors, which is one of my favorites.
Now, this one is my second favorite, and it's up there with the first one. So we get into
the third one, where it's basically, it starts with a very young Rosanna Arquette, where she's trying to stay awake from sleeping pills or something, and she's it actually, what I like about this opening is that it actually shows the house of the first one.
This is the house. All right, since all the killings have happened in 1 and 2, this house is pretty much like kind of like Halloween, where it's pretty much abandoned and boarded up. And it's pretty much, like, gone. It's still there. And it's like a haunted house. So when you're going through this, it's like Freddy just took over this house and he's made it so haunting. It's a lot better. He's even got it's even got the boiler room in it. He's pretty much put his world in this house.
Yeah. So basically we have it where...
This girl, the little girl, like, with the sea, that's pretty fucking creepy.
Oh, yeah.
Where she's like, and then she turns into that dead doll, like, dead and all that, and... Like, Freddy's home, and then you see him, like, slowly just, like chasing after her.
Yeah.
And you get that scene where he's, like, whoosh, and then he's running, and she's stuck in that slime and all that, like, where she can't run. And that's scary, because that actually
goes back to the first movie when she's going on the steps.
It reminds me of my dreams, where I'm running from something that's trying to kill me, and I can't run. I'm just stuck on something.
Oh,
that's what 3 did. Oh, that was pretty cool. So it reminds you of everybody's got dreams where you're getting chased by a killer or something and you can't run. And that's what she was doing when she was stuck in that slime, and Freddy's just getting closer and closer.
That's what I love, yeah. In the third movie, what I love about this one is that we're getting introduced to some characters that are actually aware of Freddy basically trying to kill them. Yeah. And they actually, this is the first time we actually try to fight back.
Yeah. Well, here it is. We're changing up the concept, and we're actually going to Weston Hills, a mental institution, where it's been years later since the events of Part 1, and they know that there's a problem where kids, over the years, they give us backstories that are filling in our gaps of these movies, where kids are actually just killing themselves left and right because Freddy is just fucking just psychologically killing it, damaging everybody, and you get to these 5 kids who are actually the last members of Elm Street.
They are, and
that little trivia note, this was actually supposed to send it off.
It was, because what happened behind the scenes was Wes Craven came back to write the film again, because much like the first film, he wanted it to just be a final closure, like a goodbye. And he was also able to bring back not only Heather Langenkamp for the first one, but also John Saxon.
John Saxon. So Heather Langenkamp, she comes back as Nancy Thompson again, but this time, after her events in Part 1, she decided to major in psychology. Yeah. And she comes to Weston Hills to, when she's called, because she's dealt with this whole Freddy character, and she went through it all, that they need, now that she's a psychologist, they figured that we hire her, she can kind of put together these pieces, what's going on in their dreams.
Well, that, and also we're having the story about all the kids as back, like reasons why they're there, and everything, and you can really relate to these kids, because I thought that I like the realism they went with.
I do like the realism, and I love the whole mental institutions setting, and I do like how all these kids got their own personalities. Yeah, I like to build puppeteers. I like magic and and
then one's like a drug addict, one's a suicidal
you get person, so many good personalities, and that's what I really enjoyed.
Well, that, and you also have some. Actually, what's cool about this one is that it was able to mix in humor that we later see in the later films, but also playing it straight. Yeah. Because there are a lot of funny parts in the film with Freddy, where they make him where he is cracking one-liners, but he's still doing it in a very dark way.
And this is the one who gets his famous line, "Welcome to prime time,
bitch!"
Yeah, that's this movie actually introduced that.
Yeah, which is still a creepy scene, because that scene where she's watching TV, and he's coming out of TV, and he's got the antennas on his head, and he's like, well, actually, it was actually 2 lines he had, but he put them into one,
which is pretty cool, because this is so Wes Craven right here. The girl that ends up dying in that scene is into movies, so she's studying movies, and he's watching Late Night Show, and next thing you know, he's like, "Hey," he goes, "You know what I think about you? I don't give a fuck what you think."
Yeah,
Freddy.
Yeah, I remember that. And plus, what I love too is the visuals in this movie look really spectacular.
It's really puppeteer-y looking.
It does have a lot of stop motion effects they use,
but it's pretty good.
But it's good looking.
The one where the kid with the puppeteers, he loves puppets, and the thing that was cool about him is Freddy would, fuck with these kids one by one. He'd pick them off one by one, and like that scene, he'd becoming that puppeteer, and they did good stop motion.
Oh, yeah.
And not only that, we actually get that famous where Freddy's in the cloud, where talk about gore scene, he rips his kids' tendons out, veins, and he uses them as a puppet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking brutal.
Another brutal part that kind of still gets me on the edge, because, well, it's really kind of really disturbing, is the part where the girl who is good with knives, and that dream where she gets shot up by drugs by Freddy.
Oh, yeah, he fills his fingers with heroin. He overdoses.
He's like, "Let's rock."
And not only that, this is one of the early films of
Let's Get Hot.
Lawrence Fishburne's in this.
Lawrence Fishburne, he plays the orderly, and he was the one. He did crack me up in a lot of parts, especially where he's like, you got to make sure you go back to your room and all that."
So, anyways, we get these kids that are in this nursing home, in this mental institution. They're getting picked off one by one, and the lead girl in this one, she's pretty much trying to stop Freddy. But you got to think, they're in a mental institution, and then you got Nancy, and she gets this other guy. Now we haven't talked about that guy, the other main co-star,
the
one who's starting to see Amanda. This is where they start bringing in Amanda Krueger in this.
Yeah, they start elaborate that there was another Krueger present, instead that basically the mother of Freddy Krueger that we see.
And this is where they introduce where Freddy Krueger is actually a son of 1,000 maniacs.
Yeah, and also
his mother was raped, left in this mental institution that they're on, but this was back in the day where like somebody left her in there and she got raped.
Yeah. And then you also have the thing going on where this was I actually kind of felt bad for the kid, because one of my favorite characters in the movie is the kid who's mute and he can't talk at all, but he has Joey, who has a crush on the the nurses.
Yeah, and which is another trivia thing. There's a scene where where he thinks he's about to get some pussy, and then next you know it's Freddy, he's shooting the tongue. They actually had a scene where they're actually going to do, and they thought it looked cheesy, so they cut it out, and they just did the whole where she's shooting the tongue. They were actually going to do where when he's making out, he was going to be Freddy with titties.
Shit.
Freddy's head was going to be there, but he's still going to have the girl's titties. And he's going, you like my he's going to say something cheesy. They cut it out. They thought just the tongue scene would do.
Okay, yeah. Now, the way that the dreams look in this one, I gotta say, it's probably out of the sequels, it's probably one of my favorite ones, especially like the part where the wizard kid, he's trying to feint off with Freddy.
Yeah,
and all that.
These kids end up saying, Nancy, well, you got to think these kids are fighting two people. They're trying to get hold of Freddy, but then they got this one dickhead doctor that's trying to close out Nancy from helping, and that dude that's actually catching on and believing Nancy Thompson, because she kind of tells this new doctor, like, hey, this is what's going on. This is true. This is really happening. And this guy is really cool in this film. What's his face? I forgot his name.
I forgot his name, but he was the same dude, the main doctor guy. Mm-hmm. Basically, who he is you remember that one movie, The Boys of C Company? Yeah. He was that dude who looked like Steven
that was him.
Eric Stoltz.
Yeah,
it was that one dude.
It was him. But anyways, so they know that they got a Freddy problem. Nancy sees that Freddy is back, and she believes basically these kids, they know that they're stuck without Nancy and their help. So Nancy kind of tells them to develop their own warrior, what they think that their own powers. And this is like, for instance, we got a guy who likes wizards and shit like that. He becomes a wizard in a dream to try to fight Freddy. And then you got a girl who thinks that she's a badass knife girl. Then you got another guy, which the black dude, I forgot his name, he can actually crush shit.
And then you have Joey, who's good with his voice. That's his power.
Yeah, and he can actually hurt Freddy, like hearing and fuck with him and shit.
Yeah. But what I also like, I know you weren't too big of a fan of it, but I remember this concept where they're basically using the tool to go into the dreams and stuff. Kind of reminds me of Inception. They're able to go into dreams, but
with the bricks and all that. Yeah,
that kind of reminds me of it.
And Freddy was actually really creepy again in this film. This is pretty much, I think, the last time he was really creepy. And then because he gets cheesier later on.
But this one, they kind of mixed in a lot of dark humor with this.
Yeah, he dark humor, but still, he was pretty scary.
Oh, yeah.
He was pretty. It's his last time he was not as brutal as 1 and 2, but he was still kind of brutal. But this is the final film we actually get him to where he's not becoming cheesy like we do with later films. But then we get to the part where Amanda Krueger leads one of the doctors who works with Nancy into, she says you have to get Freddy's bones into like a church, or like bury his remains.
Yeah.
Find out where he was. This is where we get
John
Saxton, because Nancy remembers my dad killed Freddy, when he was human. He knows where the bones was. We get to where they buried him at a junkyard scene.
Yeah, and this is where the psychiatrist is going to recruit with John Saxton. He remembers and everything. Yep. Though at first he's kind of skeptical, was like, "Nah, Freddy Krueger's dead," like he did in the first one. Yeah. But then he starts to unravel what's happening, and basically he gets talked into it.
Yeah.
And
he gets the dude beats John Saxton's ass and says, "You're coming with me."
Yeah, I remember.
You're gonna put this guy fucking straight to hell once and for all. And then at the same time, Nancy sneaks her way back into the mental ward where she can work with these kids because she's dealt with Freddy. And basically, this is when Nancy actually gets a reunion with Freddy now.
Yeah, which I'm going to say right now, that's probably one of the most emotional deaths I've seen in this franchise.
No, we'll get to that part, yeah.
Well, I'm saying it's one of the most emotional confrontations we get, because not only is it really creepy how, Freddy is confronting her and everything, where he's like, hello, Nancy, and all that.
And then, like, he's fucking with all the kids, and, well, unfortunately, these kids are still, with their warrior powers, are still getting picked off.
Yeah.
And they're not as strong enough over him. And then while John Saxton and this guy is trying to put his remains into hell and burying it, we get like the scenes where so Freddy's killing them one by one. Then we get that's the first reveal we get, where he's showing that
he's got the souls of the children
in his stomach, and he's revealing that the more they fear and more he kills them, the stronger he gets.
Yeah.
And then we get actually a glimpse scene where he feels that his remains are getting touched, and then you get this cool scene where John Saxton and this doctor and skeleton of Freddy, human form Freddy, are fighting, and this is where we actually see John Saxton actually die.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's sad too, because you get that triumphant where he's trying to finally kill Freddy Krueger,
and then he realizes, oh fuck, he is real.
Yeah.
It's, you son of a bitch, I killed you. And then that's where John Saxton dies. And then Freddy, goes back into his dream world so he can continue on what he's doing with Nancy and all them. And like you said, we get emotional closure where we think John Saxton, you think he's coming from heaven to comfort Nancy Thompson. And it was really Freddy playing it, and he kills.
He stabs Nancy, and that's where it really got to me. It's like, no, and where it's like, oh no, it really had that like shocking moment. It's like, damn, and it was a great a way of not only did you give her a triumphant moment, but also you gave it to where it gave motivation to the kids. Like, all right, you're down, motherfucker. We got you.
And the score with the closure of like Freddy dying, where the guy's like, ashes, and then you see dude, I really think that this could have really fucking closed
it. Would have been a great trilogy.
This would have actually, I believe, Freddy actually ending for life.
Yeah,
right here. This is it.
This would have been a great climax, because not only do they kill Freddy off, but they do pay respect to the other two people. You get Nancy getting respect, and also Donald Thompson, her father. Yeah. So I like that they do a tribute to her as well.
And then, like at the end, where Freddy's defeated, we get the girl, we get the girl, the black guy, and then Joey the mute, only the survivors, and you get the doctor who pretty much sees Amanda one last time, but they're burying Nancy and Saxton next to each other. Yeah, and then that's was a great
closure to how you could pull off a trilogy, basically, because that's what they want to do. They want to do
and to be honest with you, 1, 2, 3 could have been a perfect trilogy. Really. Yeah, it could have been perfectly. I'm going to go 9 out of 10 with 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna never 9.5 out of 10 for me. Because basically it had a great mix of not only just really creepy moments with Freddy and the brutality, but also you can start to see this was the declining point where they were kind of getting to more comedy, but they didn't overdo it
like they do later on. Yeah. Now this is, like I said, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Wars is my second favorite of the franchise.
It's probably my third favorite, but it's still great. Yeah. Now we get to Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, which is directed by Rennie Harlin, which I actually like Rennie Harlin's movies. I think that he is a good visual director, and I think that because basically this film is because they couldn't recast Patricia Arquette from the last film, they got a new actress for her.
Yeah, they actually had a hard time. Yeah, they couldn't bring her back. I don't know why she didn't come back.
But, well, for certain reasons, I think it had to do with the fact that what I read was she was pregnant at the time, so she couldn't do it. So that's the reason why. Yeah. But anyway, now we get to part 4, which it's not a bad film, but it's
this is actually my only likable one after that. Other than we'll get later on, but out of the original 6, this is the last doable one. That is doable. It's mixy. It's doable, but this is where like the last one before they really fucking fall.
Well, yeah, because this one, you pretty much have the same characters from the last movie.
They actually brought the kids back other
than Patricia Arquette.
Other than Arquette, they actually bring the other fucking 3 survivors in the film.
Yeah.
And the real guys, the real people.
Yeah. So you get Tuesday Night replacing Patricia Arquette in this one, and so now we find out that Freddy is I forgot how exactly.
All right, so basically this is how it happens. because there's still some fears that he is coming. The fear still brings him back, is enough to bring him back. So what he does was he's still there, but he needs one weak guy. So he starts off with the black dude.
Yeah.
He basically kind of like makes him dream that he's in that fucking junkyard again, and there's a dog that shoots
trivia note for that. The dog is actually named Jason. Which was funny.
Okay. Well, the dog actually shoots fire, and it supposedly did some kind of like resurrection shit. This is where like you could see your typical 80s, 90s films where it's really cheesy of how the guy comes back. So basically, he does. His bones start sticking together, come back, and then they form, which is a pretty creepy stop motion. Yeah. That was a pretty good stop motion shot.
It was, yeah.
Where it shows that like all his veins coming together. It's really fucking detailed. That was pretty fucking gruesome looking. So, anyways, Freddy comes back. He kills the dude from 3. He tells him, kills him. Says, he goes, go to hell. He goes. Then he's like, tell him Freddy sent you, and then like he's pretty much wanted him to let him know everybody that he's returned. And then whenever he died, that's where it brings more fear and brings more power to Freddy, because the kids are like, was it Freddy that killed him? And then that's where he starts picking off all the main cast from 3.
Yeah, that's where. Okay, now I remember now, because it's been a while since I've seen the film, but I remember that.
Yeah, he picks them all off, and then we finally lose Kristen. Arquette. We lose Arquette. Kristen. We lose the main character from 3. She dies last.
Yeah.
And he actually successfully picks off everybody from part 3.
Well, before we get into that, basically this movie sets up a new character
named Alice,
who... This is the first time we get to see someone who it has the same powers that Freddy has.
I don't know.
Because
it's kind of hard with Christine, but I'm going to give it more of Alice. She's kind of reminds me of the Tommy Jarvis.
Basically, because she's
Other than Nancy and a little bit of Christine, this is like becomes the Tommy Jarvis later on.
Yeah, basically, Alice I thought was a fascinating character, because I like the actress that plays her.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that in this character, we're able to see her basically confront Freddy and control her dreams.
She's like, Freddy pretty much brings her into this world, which there are some continuity problems with 4, because basically 3 covers that after Elm Street people, what does he really want with people now? But then again, he is a killer, so why would he stop?
Well, I think the thing is that if it's people that's close to the same children, then it's fair game, because he goes after the ones that are still friends, or at least remembers the kids.
Yeah, I guess you could say it's doable, but then again, he is a killer. They don't stop. Killers will just keep killing.
Yeah.
So.
But anyway, so we get Alice, who I think is a very fascinating character, and she is able to control some of the dreams and basically fight back with Freddy, which I liked. And you also get to see some more of the comedy that they use. Like they kind of overdo in some parts, but they don't do it to extreme where it's very cheesy.
All right.
It's
cheesy. It's still doable. It's still doable compared to the other ones. But here's... Alright, for one, we lose the Freddy's look. It still looks cool. It's just you don't get that slimy, burny look into him. He's now more dried up. Looking, like a raisin. And Freddy is kind of more like, he's still psychologically fucking with people, but I think that he's getting more softer as they go. This is where they start showing kind of softer, because they're kind of going a little with the comedy. He's still fucking scary. It's just you can see the decline of his character.
Yeah,
he starts getting more like jokey, more like, hey, like he's still
like this part where he's where it's like on the beach and he has the sunglasses on.
He's still fucking around, which is funny. I guess I have a soft spot for 4. So.
Well, yeah, 4 has they don't they do use a lot more comedy than the third one did.
Yeah.
But they don't overdo it to a point where it's just really just like annoying. Yeah. It still works in some scenes. Now, because one of my favorite parts is the part where the girl, where she's like in the weird scope thing. He's like, once you check in, you can't check out.
He actually fucks with the girl, and she's like a big weight trainer, and he breaks her arms, she pretty much turns into a cockroach, which is really weird that we've ever seen, and then he squashes her because she's fear of cockroaches.
Yeah.
I guess 4 you can actually praise that, because he's actually attacking their fears.
Yeah. Now
she hated cockroaches, And then so what does he do?
He turns Ranger costume
and then crushes her like one.
Now there is
4 is praised for that.
Well, there is one problem I do also have with 4 is remember that scene where he's fighting Alice's brother and it's all like he's invisible and shit.
And he's a ninja.
Yeah, that was funny, but I kind of wish they would actually show Freddy in that scene.
Yeah,
because it was weird him fighting an invisible guy the whole time.
Yeah.
Because for budget reasons they couldn't show.
I think they were trying to make you laugh because it was like they were trying to make you laugh that Freddy likes to cheat.
Yeah, but I just thought it would have been cool seeing actual Freddy.
It could have done more, and then again, Alice is starting to see like not only is she friends from the original guys from 3. She's seeing her personal family and friends getting picked off one by one.
Which motivates her more because you can see the emotion.
She loses her brother, and you can actually feel the broken home feeling she has because her dad was a drunk in this movie. Yeah. The mom died of cancer. Her brother just gets killed by Freddy. And then this is another scene that they actually started, and then 7 actually did the copy of the scene, was the one where he wakes up in the coffin at the funeral.
Yeah, I remember that part where
and the brother's like, "Hello, baby."
Yeah,
and they do like a lot of goofiest shit. They don't overdo it as like they do with 5 and 6.
Yeah,
but
basically, this film it does have some good devs. It's got some it's got a lot of it's got some good characters and everything.
And it's an interesting plot. And then, Alice. I believe how she defeated him in a church. She took
I remember
took him on church.
Because now
and she inherits actually powers from her previous people.
Yeah,
her friends. She was able to, I guess, take personal items from every friend and put it all into that thing, which killed Freddy, which melted him, melted him pretty much.
It did.
Oh, the ending with 4 was actually what happened with. The ending with 4 was actually where she did stab him with something, but she did something with a mirror.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And it's the see evil where she basically we get more Amanda Krueger in this film. She gets collaborating with her about pretty much showing Freddy looks at himself and shows fear is what you look at or some shit like that. I can't really understand him. It was kind of confusing ending. He basically looked at a holy mirror and he fucking just died.
Yeah.
And he died. I will say that the ending was really anticlimactic a little bit because he looked at a mirror and he fucking died.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so I had problems with that.
I did too. But overall, I can say the movie is decent.
It's decent.
It's got good direction from Rennie Harlan.
It's doable compared to what it could have been.
Yeah, I'm going to give it probably a 6.5 out of 10. It's got some great visual as far as Rennie Harlan's direction, the way he makes up the dream sequences. Especially that scene. Remember the part where they're leaving the diner and then they keep going back to the same place? I'm driving!
Yeah, and she realizes deja vu type shit and he's fucking with her.
Yeah.
And making it sure that she can't reach that one chick that he's killing. Yeah, I do like that. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to go 6.5 out of 10 on this one, too.
All right, then we'll be back. We're going to take a break real quick. We'll be back in part 2 of our retrospective of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. We'll catch you guys here in a minute.
All right, see you later.
See you later.